Moby, it's a pleasure to see you again. I had the chance to speak with you in the past. I think that the first time I spoke with you was in 1997 in a phoner. You were talking about the James Bond theme, and after that, I had the chance of see you in Acapulco in the Aca World Song Festival. It was a great moment for the festivals in Mexico, and a lot of it was of your work and of your art. So today is very exciting to speak with you again. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, it's such a complicated question, especially because there's so many things going on in the world. So it's like, I almost feel selfish saying that I'm okay when we're dealing with climate change and pandemics and attacks on democracy, et cetera, et cetera. So, but personally, selfishly, I feel okay.
Well, maybe not selfishly, but is some kind of awareness of what is going on from your point of view, helping to fight these kind of messes that are around all of us. So my first question is, what was the main impulse to do this record, to do this reprise record, and to revisit all your old songs?
Well, on one hand, I love the process of making records. You know, I love being in a studio. Normally when I work, it's just me by myself in a studio, but obviously this record, there's an orchestra, there's a gospel choir, there's arrangers and so many different people. So the process of making the record was really interesting. But to your question, the more important aspect for me is the emotional aspect, you know, because music, the purpose of music is communicating emotion. So in going back and revisiting these songs, I sort of wanted to almost take the emotional aspects of these songs and develop them further with an orchestra, with a gospel choir, with different singers.
I was thinking that music and theater is the only art that you can revisit and rebuild. If you make a paint, it's permanent, and if you make a movie, it's also permanent. But with music, you can transform your main work and do it and mold it between the years. It is difficult to mold it and rebuild the music. I was thinking about the songs of the play record that was made with these Lomax library recordings. It was easy to renounce, to get off of this and make it again?
Well, I mean, to your point, it is one of the really interesting aspects of music is you can do remixes, you can do cover versions, you can do acoustic versions, you can do so many different versions of the original. And like, for example, with a book, it's really hard to do multiple versions of a book or a movie or a sculpture or a painting. Whereas music, it's interesting. You can have like, I mean, I think of some of my favorite songs by the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, where they're like countless cover versions and remixes. And the great thing is the original is always there. You know, so if someone only wants to listen to the original version of these songs, the original is always there, and the original isn't compromised or hurt by revisiting them, you know. And in terms of redoing the songs without samples, it was, I mean, the hard part was finding the singers who I felt could really deliver the emotional quality of the music. But, you know, the songs themselves, I think, live pretty well with real musicians and real vocalists as opposed to using samples.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that listening to Reprise, it's an amazing task, because you can resemble the past, but also seeing that they are like a new songs. And I think that also with this record, you are getting to new public that maybe new audiences that maybe never heard the older songs or the first songs.
I mean, it's quite possible. It makes me think a little bit of when was it? 1995. I went to go see 9 Inch Nails and David Bowie perform. Mm-hmm. And David Bowie he played the man who sold the world. And the person sitting next to me said, "Oh, this is so cool. He's doing a Nirvana cover." And so, yeah, to your point, especially because I've been making music for a long time, like someone might hear some of these new versions and just assume I'm a new artist and this is my first record. I mean, it's once you make anything in this world and you release it, you absolutely cannot control how people perceive it. And I sort of appreciate what I think of as like the democratic chaos of that. So you release music and people listen to it, they don't listen to it, they create their own narratives around it. And if someone has no idea who I am or that I've made records in the past, that's fine with me.
What was the most easier part and the most difficult part of redoing these songs?
The easiest part was basically, and the way I can think of it is, everything I could do on my own was pretty easy because as I said, just one person working on his own. So like doing the arrangements, sort of figuring out the structures of the songs, like that was kind of fun and easy. The hard part was finding the singers and then getting the singers to agree to record, because as you know, there are a lot of singers on this record, and every singer, they're all very talented, but they all have their own demands and their own way of working. And so like working with the singers was definitely the most challenging part.
I would think that also I see you here right now, and I'm thinking that when you are making or redoing these songs, you're a different person of when you compose them and produce them in 99 or 98 or in the first years of the 21st century. How do you feel about the feelings that were encrusted in these songs and how they evolve in this new record?
Well, as you know, music is a time capsule, or almost like a time portal. You can have time travel with music, and that's listening to other people's music, but especially making music. So, for example, if I listen to the first album by The Clash, I immediately remember hearing it, on the radio in 1979, or listening to it in my bedroom in suburban Connecticut in 1981. There's that time travel aspect of music. But with the songs I've written, especially going back to redo them for this album, I was so specifically reminded of not just who I was and where I was when they were being made, but what the world was like. Like to put it in perspective, one of the older songs redone on the album is the song Go. And I wrote that when I was living in an abandoned factory in a crack neighborhood, and I had no running water and no bathroom. And, George Bush Sr. was president and the internet barely existed. And it's just remembering like how different the world was, or even like the music on Play, that was written in 1998, when Bill Clinton was president. The Soviet Union no longer existed. Russia seemed like it was going to become a democratic Western ally. The social media was only really being used as a good tool. There wasn't disinformation. Donald Trump was just some failed reality TV star or, failed property developer. So it's a little bit sad, actually, remembering how innocent the world felt, 20 some odd years ago. In 1998, we all thought that the worst parts of history were behind us.
We were living like a Belle Epoque, where the people were communicated in different ways, and the future seems to be so bright that we have to wear glasses. But in 2001, everything changes again.
And then we look at the world now, and it's like with the climate change, with attacks on democracy, with the pandemic, and yeah, so there is that sadness of remembering how innocent, by comparison, everything seemed in the 90s. You know, like, as I said, like in the 90s, like the Soviet Union had ended. China seemed like they were having democratic reforms. The internet promised to bring us all closer together and enabled people to, you know, share music and things. So it's like there is that sadness in looking back and realizing like, oh, the past was a lot more innocent.
But also the past has some kind of fragility and melancholy and sadness. I am thinking about porcelain or natural blues. And I think you overall the trouble so hard. And now there are other kinds of problems. And Gregory Porter's ensembles then with his voice in an enormous way. You were thinking about these kind of different problems when you were revisiting these kind of songs?
Well, as we sort of established, the problems change, you know, whether it's terrorism then, climate change now, attacks on democracy then, attacks on democracy now. You know, the problems change. What doesn't change is us, you know, is humanity, you know, and like the human emotional reaction to issues. And so when I think of music, I think that music to me has a general I mean, sometimes it's very specific, but oftentimes music is very general in the way it sort of communicates emotion. So a song like Natural Blues, whether it's a sample from 1945 or Gregory Porter, that idea that humans struggle, you know, human beings have always struggled, and, you know, there's always trouble. So I guess it's the universal aspect of the emotion.
Mm-hmm. You were telling that the humanity doesn't change. I think that the humanity does change and make more awareness about the problems. I see you, and I can tell you, I see you change, and maybe you can remember me but I also change, and maybe we can change about our awareness and our worriness about the humanity and the society with this kind of problems that are around us. How do you feel about yourself if you have to see the Richard Melville Hall of 1998?
I mean, it's basically, I'm trying to figure out a way to answer the question without seeming too academic or esoteric, but basically, for most of my life, I thought that the world of humans could fix everything, you know, like, and this is sort of what the movie Moby Doc is about. Like when I was growing up, and even up until fairly recently, I thought that things had power, you know, and that institutions had power. And as time has passed, I guess I've become more aware of, we'll call it like a broader context, you know, like the age of the planet, the age of the universe. And I've since come to see humans as just being fairly scared and desperate and running around trying to, like, I don't know, just running around making all sorts of bad decisions. And I really think that, you know, for humanity to save itself, we need to stop being so small-minded. You know, we need to stop making decisions that destroy us and the people around us and the only home that we have. And so I guess the difference for me is I don't expect the world of people to deliver all that much.
Mm-hmm. I see you right now. I see you your home, and I see very very easy, like modest. I don't know if that's the word, but maybe you are living now more like in a simple way, and being more in touch with the nature and with the humanity. How do you feel you're living right now?
Yeah, I mean, I basically live what I think of as quite a simple life, because in my past, I made a lot of effort to overcomplicate my life. And over time, I realized I prefer things to be fairly simple, and that way I can just focus on activism, on creativity, on friendships, on health, you know, on nature, on spirituality. Like, you know, and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine recently. I was like, well, why would I need more than one car? You know, I don't drive that often. Why would I need two cars? Why would I need expensive clothes when I don't really care what I look like? Why would I need a giant TV when my normal size TV is perfectly fine? Like, it's, if things are fine, why change them?
I think that we are living in a society that pressures us to change that and to be more material than spiritual. And I see you, and I think that maybe you could be an example, because I see you and I see you so in peace, really in peace, and so soft that maybe the people that hear right now your music could make the reflection of this.
Well, my one hope is that people will be willing to look at evidence. And what I mean by that is we all live in a way where we try to ignore evidence, you know, like, and I used to do that. I probably still do that, but I used to ignore the evidence, like, you know, because I'm a sober person now, but I used to drink and do a lot of drugs. And I ignored the evidence that drinking and doing drugs was making me sick and ruining my relationships. You know, so I just tried to ignore that. The same way, unfortunately, people will love animals, but also contribute to animal suffering and animal death while pretending that they love animals. And I'm like, well, you can't really torture something and kill something and claim to love it. You know, the same way that everyone seems to care about their children, but no one's trying to fix climate change, knowing full well that climate change is going to destroy the world that their children will live in. So my hope is that people will finally accept that actions have consequences and be willing to look at evidence.
How do you see yourself in the future? I think that the last time I saw you was, as I told you, in the 2000s, and right now we can see each other in this screen. How do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And I know that the uncertainty in the world is really tough.
I mean, hopefully as time passes, I mean, I don't really have any career ambition. I don't have much ambition for myself. My only hope is that I can somehow, in my own small way, help people to stop making all these mistakes, you know, and to create a world where we no longer use animals for food, to create a world where we no longer cut down the rainforest, to create a world where we no longer throw plastic in the ocean, to create a world where we no longer burn petroleum, like just to create a world that simply is sustainable and makes sense. Like, that's my goal. And if in the process I get to make music and go hiking, I'm pretty happy.
Well, I think that it's a tough goal because we are so little-minded, as you said, as humans. So we can to work a lot, you and the society that are hearing your music, but also your goals that could be general goals.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I recognize, like, on a planet of what, 9 billion people, you are just one person, I'm just one person. Unfortunately, what we can do is limited, but at the same time, I believe for myself, I have to wake up every day and try to figure out how to help in my own tiny way, how to help make things better.
Well, Moby, my time has run out. It was a pleasure to speak with you again, and I hope to see you not in 20 years, but nearer, because also it's a pleasure to speak with you and always to listen to your ideas.
Oh, well, it was a great pleasure speaking with you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.